Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to do something a little different. Instead of an art video, we're going to focus on two other loves of mine, which are genealogy and history. In this video, I want to share with you this antique baby cup and what I learned about its original owner. At the very end of this video, we're going to learn together whether or not the original owner and I have a personal connection. So where did this cup come from? Years ago, I won this cup at an auction in Concord, New Hampshire, and I fell in love with it. The cup stands about 3¼ inches tall. Given the mark on its base, the cup would have been silver plated at one point, but due to the age, most of the silver has been worn away. The cup is decorated with a little Bo Peep design that wraps around the cup and around this plaque or nameplate, which is engraved Mary Ellen Hodsdon, November 2nd, 1878. Going off the imagery, size, and engraving, I figured it was most likely a gift for the birth of a baby. Before we jump into Mary's life, I'd like to take a second to thank today's sponsor, MyHeritage. MyHeritage is a genealogy website that gives members access to over 12 billion historical records from the convenience of their own home. With features like their instant discoveries, you can add entire branches to your tree with just one click. I've been into genealogy since I was 11. It is easily the most addictive, rewarding hobby I've ever had. It has a special way of bringing family together, and with resources like MyHeritage, building your family tree becomes instant, easy, and fun. If you'd like to give MyHeritage a try, check below for a link to a free 14-day trial. As an added bonus, if you decide to continue with the subscription, you'll receive a discount for 50%. And if you're worried you don't have enough information about your family to get started, don't be discouraged. I'm about to show you just how much you can learn on MyHeritage with as little as a name and a birth date. Mary Ellen Hodsdon was born on November 2nd, 1878 in Ossipee, New Hampshire to Arthur L. Hodsdon and Charlotte M. Grant. She was the youngest of 3 children, having 2 older brothers, Walter and Herbert. Mary was born into a well-to-do family that strongly valued an education. Her father and grandfather were well-educated business owners in the leather making and lumber industries. They were very active in local and state politics, were Masons, and attended the Congregational Church. Mary's maternal grandfather was also well-educated and worked as a physician. As a young girl and teen, like her brothers, Mary was busy attending school. She attended Newt High School in Milton, New Hampshire, and LaSalle Seminary, now known as LaSalle University, in Auburndale, Massachusetts. Then in 1902, Mary graduated from Emerson School of Oratory as president of her class. On April 15, 1907, Mary, age 28, married Charles Edwin Rich, who was 33, in Ossipee, New Hampshire. Mary and Charles were married by Vincent Moses from Minister of the Gospel. At the time, Charles lived in Lynn, Massachusetts, and worked as a doctor for his own practice. Mary lived in Ossipee, New Hampshire, working as a maid. For both, it was their first marriage. Following the wedding, Mary moved to Massachusetts to start her life with her husband, where they lived on Broad Street in Lynn. Although all census records state that Mary was unemployed, she was an active member of the Universalist Church. She was very active in civic affairs, and there's also the possibility she may have helped her husband run his medical practice. Mary's name appears as Mrs. Charles E. Rich an endless amount of times in local newspapers for her civic work with the Lynn Boys Club, the Lynn Women's Club, the North Shore Club of Lynn, the Oxford Club, the Lynn Star Club, and the New Hampshire Daughters Club. So much, in fact, I was frustrated that I couldn't find at least one photograph of her. The clubs had Mary socializing in higher social circles within the community and kept her busy organizing and attending luncheons, dinners, balls, and other events, some of which had her introducing special guests like governors and other state officials. Then on February 11th, 1911, Mary experienced the loss of her father Arthur, who passed away in Ossipee, New Hampshire. Mary and Charles had no children of their own. However, according to the 1920 census, Charles's 18-year-old half-sister, Flora G. Rich, lived in their home. Flora was 6 when her mother died of heart failure and 15 when her father passed away. Flora began living with Mary and Charles somewhere between 1910 and 1920. I'm guessing that Flora's father may have placed her in Mary and Charles' care long before he passed, hoping that they'd be able to provide a more stable environment for his daughter. Supporting this idea is Flora's March 6, 1925 engagement announcement, where she listed Mary and Charles as her parents. Living in a higher social circle, Flora may have listed them to avoid recognizing publicly that she was an orphan, or they were listed because Mary and Charles took her in at such an early age that to Flora, they felt more like parents to her than a half-brother and a sister-in-law. Also living in Mary and Charles' home in 1920 was a Swedish woman by the name of Anna Savard. Anna was a 39-year-old widow who worked for the family as a cook. Makes me wonder if Mary was too busy to cook, or if she was a horrible cook. Between December 1936 and October 1937, Mary experienced a year of loss, starting with the death of her mother, Charlotte, from a cerebral hemorrhage at the age of 92. In March 1937, her brother Herbert died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound at the age of 63. I'll be honest, when I saw this record, I was pretty shocked. Then she suffered the death of her husband Charles, who was only 63. The cause of his death is unknown. Following the death of her husband, Mary continued to live in their home on Broad Street in Lynn. On March 25th, 1956, her other brother Walter passed away in Vermont following a long illness at the age of 84. He had worked as a physician and a surgeon and left behind several children, including a daughter named Mary Ellen Hodsdon, who I assume was named after our Mary. Finally, on January 5th, 1964, Mary Ellen Hodsdon Rich passed away in her home on Broad Street in Lynn, Massachusetts at the age of 85. Her cause of death is unknown. Her funeral services were held at Richardson Funeral Home, and she was laid to rest at Pine Grove Cemetery in Lynn. Mary had been a resident of Lynn, Massachusetts for over 50 years. Now for the possible personal connection between Mary and I. In 1920, my great-grandparents Robert and Marjorie lived in Lynn, and they were expecting their first child, my grandfather. It turns out that my great-grandparents lived a 4-minute walk from Mary and Charles, which left me wondering, did Mary's husband deliver my grandfather? To find that out, I reached out to the town hall in Lynn, ordered my grandfather's birth certificate, and asked if they could include the name of the doctor who delivered him. They said they checked their files and were able to include that information with the birth certificate. So we are going to find out together if there's actually a personal connection between Mary and I through her husband and my grandpa. I am so excited and nervous, but here we go. Oh my goodness. This is going to be so weird. He passed in 2006 too, so just seeing his birth certificate is going to be odd. Okay, I'm afraid to look. I'm so afraid to look. All right, his birth certificate, I'm going to look at that first. All right, name of child, date of birth, place of birth, Lynn, parents, Marjorie and Robert. Okay, oh, it's so cool. Oh, and now for the scary part. I don't know why this is scary. Okay, so physicians delivered. Physician who signed Robert's birth certificate. Oh, a man by the name of Raymond Rauscher, who also lived on Broad Street. He's one listing away from Charles, which, oh, it's so annoying. It's so close. So close. I'm kind of bummed. Honestly, I'm kind of bummed out. I just had a feeling it would have been Charles. It would have made that cup just a tiny bit more special. I would have loved it just a little bit more. But I am grateful. Had it not been for this antique cup, I never would have been introduced to Mary Ellen Hodsdon, who was no doubt an interesting woman for her time. As for the cup, it'll return to its place on my desk, where it'll continue to be loved and displayed as a special place to store art supplies. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed today's video and you'd like to see more like this one, please let me know in the comments below. I'd also like to send out a special thank you to MyHeritage for all their help today. And as a quick reminder, if you'd like to try MyHeritage out for yourself, check below for the link to the 14-day free trial. You will not regret it. It is very addictive. Until next time, guys, stay safe out there, and I will see you in the next video.